Good morning, stampers and crafters. Welcome to Technique Tuesday. I'm Tina with Tina's Crafty Ink Spot. Well, it's a sunny, or it's a cloudy, snowy day here in Yakima. So I thought this is the perfect day to do a tutorial and come in out of the snow. I'm still new to the snow thing, being a Las Vegas native and moving up here to the Pacific Northwest. I still kind of like the snow, but maybe if since I don't have to go out in it every day, I still like it. But it's snowy, it's real light and pretty, and I thought, well, you know what? I'll look out my she cave window and do a tutorial. So anyway, today let's jump in, and today's technique is called stamp kissing. Yep, that's exactly what they call it. But it's a really fun way to add some texture to your solid image stamps. And this will make more sense as we go along. But I wanted to show it to you. Here's one I did with a solid image stamp, just a simple design on it. And for this one, we're gonna pull in, remember last week's tutorial, I showed you how to make sponging templates. We're gonna do that again today. We're gonna do a little bit of heat embossing, and we're going to step this up just a little bit we're going to stick with the same stamp set, which is above the clouds, and it's got these really adorable hot air balloons. My dad was a hot air balloon freak. I wish he was still with me, rest in peace, that I could make him cards with this. But he sees us making this now, so we're good. It also has a coordinating punch. If you don't have the punch, these are super, super simple to fussy cut. We're going to use that one, and we're going to use the solid image. We might go ahead and use the lines if we so feel inclined. Let's see how our kissing comes out. We're going to use the tasteful texture set. And I really like this kind of flourish right here. And I think it'll make a really pretty hot air balloon. We could even do that one. You could do anything, and that'll make more sense as we go along. This is the one I used for this card. I used the birthday backgrounds and these little stars here to do this. Now, let's get started. And remember last week we did, we made templates, sponging templates, okay? I do a lot of sponging. So I make templates. You can also make these templates, which I should have told you last week. You can make these out of like a window sheet or something a little more gonna last longer than, you can see my paper here is a little worse for wear, but it works. So we're gonna use our template, and we are also going to, where's our clouds? And we've got a little set of clouds here. So let's get started. So to get started, I have an A2 card base, just Whisper White, folded. And I went ahead, because I know that I'm going to be doing my flourish in red. I thought, let's see what a red mat's going to look like. So we'll see how that works. So this mat is basically 4 by 5 1/4. And then I used my stitched rectangle die to cut this out. If you don't have the stitch rectangles, I'll have a link to them in this description, but you can also just cut your piece with your cutter. It's fine also. Whatever makes it easiest for you. I used my stitched rectangles on almost everything. I just like that. It kind of adds just that little tiny extra detail to your projects, the little stitch siding. So I'm a fan. Can you tell? Yeah, I am. All right. So we are going to take our Whisper White piece, and I'm just going to use some washi tape, and I'm going to attach well, you know what? Before we attach this, because I'm going to have to heat emboss, let's lay it on here. Kind of line it up. Because we're going to stamp our clouds. So you just kind of need to make sure it stays there for a second. And then when we go to do our sponging, I will attach it with the washi tape just to keep it from moving. So let's get our little clouds out. And I forgot to grab my Versamark. Let me grab that. And so we have our Versamark here, our watermark stamping pad. And you still want to use your embossing buddies whenever you're doing some heat embossing. All it does is remove static from the area in which you are stamping and adding powder. Most embossing powders are so fine that they kind of stick to everything. So all this does is keep that, just lightly rub it. It keeps your powder where you want it. Some projects, it's okay if the powder goes all crazy. You want that little effect on there. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to use a regular Stampin' Block, my Versamark, and I'm going to bring in some white embossing powder. Let's go ahead and ink up our little clouds here. And I'm just going to hold my template in place, and I'm going to stamp off of it so that I have a cloud kind of just a portion of a cloud. And whenever you have a template, see where the cloud hits the edge of your template? Just make sure you press firmly right there so that your stamp goes all the way down against your background. Let's add a couple more here. And I think I want to, you can barely, you probably can't see it on film, but even though this Versamark is clear, you can kind of see where it's stamping. So I'm going to stagger a couple more clouds right about there. Okay. And now I can just lift my template off. And I just have a piece of scrap paper here, scrap copy paper, to catch my white embossing powder. I usually have a little bin that I keep my white or my clear in, a little Tupperware bin. And I don't know where it is. Isn't that weird? I mean, I lost an entire bin of embossing powder. But in my defense, I think I took it to a customer's house where I was stamping, and I may have left it there. So that's in my defense. Or I could just be getting senile and it's somewhere in my house. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and heat set these little clouds. And they're going to work as emboss resist. It's still, you can see, I mean, even though it's white on white, if you hold your paper in the right light, you can see when the embossing powder melts. I love heat embossing. Heat embossing is why I started stamping. I've never even seen it before I went to a class. Okay, there we go. So we got our little clouds. And now we want to put our template back on there. And I have this offset template. And I'll put a link to last week's class if you missed sponging templates. And it goes over how I do that. I do a lot of sponging. I'm trying to work my hand at being a little bit better at using the brayer, but that's definitely work in progress for me. I seem to have better control with a sponge or a dauber than I do a brayer. And I just love it. I mean, I love the look of the brayer, but I can kind of achieve that with just sponging. So, okay, so we have our template attached. And we are going to bring in, we're going to bring in our Pacific Point. I wanted kind of a bright blue and a dauber. Now your clouds are going to work as emboss resist. I believe I have other tutorials. If you don't know what emboss resist is, it's when you emboss something and you ink it, when you apply ink over it, you simply can wipe any ink off of where there was embossing powder melted. That's why they call it emboss resist. So let's do a little bit of sponging here. So what I want to do is I want to have my sky kind of darker, and I'm going to fade down into kind of nothing. So we start off your paper. I'm just going to work our way down. And as you go down, there's less ink on your dauber, so you can just kind of fade it off down toward the bottom. Go right over those clouds. It's going to be just fine because the ink's going to come off of those clouds. And since it's a sky, like I told you, you don't have to have everything, you know, exactly even colored. Skies are not even in color. I mean, if you look at them, there's white and there's often other colors that are kind of spotted around them. So it doesn't have to be a perfect fade. I mean, you don't want anything really blotchy, I would think, but so I'm just going to carry a little bit of that down. And by using the emboss resist, you're also going to have a little bit of darker highlights around your clouds, which is going to add a nice little tinted accent. And I just put a fingerprint on there. Look, I didn't, oh, I had one ink spot. Okay, I might be able to fix that. But for the time being, I'm going to show you how I fix oopses like this. I'm going to first off take a tissue and try to get any excess. And then I have what is called, as soon as I find it, Tombow or Mono. Mono makes these erasers, and they're called sand erasers. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. As you see, I use it quite a bit. And these sand erasers are for little oopses where they will get a little bit of ink off. Let's see if we can get this off. So when you're using, so we're just going to add a whole new tutorial in here. When you're using your sand eraser, go over the area one direction and then go over it the other direction. You kind of have to work at it slowly because you don't want to tear the paper or, you know, shred it too badly. But if you kind of work at it, sanding it lightly, go in both directions, it'll take your oopses off. I mean, if you ever got to like the end of a card and you messed up on a greeting where it had a little spot it wasn't supposed to have, well, this little guy will save your life. And pretty much almost everybody in my team I've bought these for. You can get like a pack of them on, I'll see if I can find a link. You can get a pack of them on Amazon, of 4 or 5 of them for, I don't know, $5 maybe? Maybe, if even. But look at that. It got rid of my spot. And all I need to do now is just add my little bit of sponging glue back on there, and I'm just going to lightly go over that. And look at that, it got rid of my big fupa. So I will put a link to this little sanding eraser for you. Okay, so now back to our regularly scheduled program. So now I'm going to take off my template. And I like using washi tape because it won't tear your paper. You know, it won't fray it like masking tape does. So there we have our little image. And look at this. We're going to take our little sanding eraser and get a little spot I had there. You know, some of these little spots, like I'll notice them on my cards, and my husband won't. And he's like, why did you go to all that trouble? Well, I know it's there, so I need it gone. So there we go. Now we've got our cloud scene, and you're just going to take a facial tissue, okay? Just a regular facial tissue, and you're going to rub it over those clouds. And it's going to take the ink off of your clouds. And I'm trying not to go too much out of the little square area in case there's ink on here. I don't want to spread it. So just rub it right off of your embossing powder. There you go. See? Now we have our little white clouds. Okay, so we've got that done. Let's do some stamp kissing. Okay, so I'm going to put my clouds away, and I'm going to bring out the solid image of our balloon. Okay, now if you are curious about what kind of solid images you can use, always remember with photopolymer sets, you can actually have any image be a solid image. All you would do is flip it over on your block. So your actual stamping side is down. There's your flat image. There's your blank image. You can do that when you're trying to do say you were trying to do background color around these words. This saying, you would stamp your saying, flip your stamp over, ink it up with your highlight ink, stamp it over the words again. So with almost all of your photopolymer, you have blank stamps. And you can stamp on any one of them with this technique that I'm going to show you. So we're just going to throw in all kinds of ideas there for you. I just dropped my clouds. They stuck to my sleeve. And I don't want to lose them. I don't know how many of you have ever done that. You drop a photopolymer somewhere and it'd be hard pressed to find that little tiny thing. I was going to call it a little booger, so sorry. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our Stamparatus. We're going to set our clouds aside. And we have our piece of scrap that we are going to create our balloons. And just for effect, I think what I want to do, I'm going to bring out one of the frames to the balloon. I'm going to bring out this one right here because I don't want to lose my image that we're going to create, but I kind of just want a little accent in the balloon. So I'm going to put that one aside, and we're going to take and add our scrap paper here. And all I'm going to do is set up my balloon here. I should bring in my other plate so that I can do this part. Let me grab another Stamparatus plate. This is one of the things that makes having a Stamparatus really wonderful. And then normally what I do is you pick up one of them. This is so you can do multiple. Okay, so I'm going to pick up that with one plate. Okay, and we're going to stamp it. Let's stamp it in basic black memento. And now this way we'll be able to make more than one balloon. if we want to add it to our project. So I'm going to stamp that. Hopefully I got my, there we go. And now, with the other plate, I'm going to lay our balloon where it needs to be on our image. Okay. And I'm going to pick it up with the other plate. This is the easiest way to do two-step stamping, is to use your, and you can do multiple now because now I have both of my plates set up and they'll do multiple. Okay, so now we're going to add our design using our plain solid image. And remember I told you I wanted to use this like filigree thing here. I guess that's what it's called, filigree, flourish. I think it's a flourish myself. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this on a block. And I want to use my real red. And I'm going to stamp on here, or ink it up really well. Oops, I missed the center, sorry. Make sure I got it inked really well. And now I'm literally going to stamp on my stamp. This thus being going to kiss my other stamp with my design. So there we go. And now stamp the design onto our balloon. And there you go. You have a design on your balloon. So now let's do one more. Let me grab a wipe to wipe this off. And remember, I have my plates set up. So I'm just going to turn this around. And now this one, I'm just going to stamp it without the outline. Let's see how it's going to look. Just a balloon without the outline. So we got it inked up really well. And now we're going to stamp directly onto our other stamp. So you see how your solid image stamps just now have a gambit more of opportunities you can do with them. You could put anything here. You know what might be pretty? If you did something like this design on your solid image, doing the baby wipe technique, where it's kind of a rainbow color, that would be absolutely beautiful. So you be techniques that work with other techniques, I guess. I've got that inked really well. I kind of like it like this without the outline. What do you think? Well, and you could also, if you wanted to, is you could do a solid color on there behind that if you wanted. But I kind of like the red and white look. Let's go ahead and add, let's try this other balloon image and see how that looks. So all we're going to do is line that one up with our image. Oops, sticking to my fingers. And then we're going to bring in our other panel, pick it up, and let's do it in the red. Let's stay with our red and see how it looks. So we've inked it up, and now we'll add our red. This is how I create. I just kind of go with whatever's happening at the time and just play with it. See what you come up with. Sometimes you'd surprise yourself some of the things you can come up with. Okay, I really like that one. That's the one we're going to go with. Let's go ahead and wipe these off. Set our stamparatus aside. And now we need to punch it out. I may have to trim this sort of. Yeah, I do. Let's go ahead and trim this a little bit. So when you're using your punch, your easiest way is to use it upside down. I mean, a lot of you may know this, some may not. And line up your image inside your punch, right where you want it, and then punch your item out. And while we have the punch, I'm going to use a little piece of real red scrap to create the balloon basket. On this punch, it has the balloon basket. It also has some banners, but we're just going to do a red basket. There we go. We've got our little balloon basket. And now, see, I'll use this on another one, so don't get rid of that. Let's bring back this. And I'm going to use just a little bit of glue on the edge of my basket here, right on the top edge, and attach it to my balloon. Oops. See, now we have a balloon with a red basket. And I'm going to bring the stamparatus in one more time. And let's get our greeting on there. I normally like to do my greeting before I put my card together, just in case you mess up your greeting. You don't have your whole card assembled where you got to start completely over. You usually only have to redo your base. So let's put this here. Put our magnets on. And what greeting do we? This just has some adorable little greetings. We rise by lifting others. My absolute favorite. Life is a beautiful ride. Let your dreams soar. Or you're off to great places. Well, what do we want to use? We rise by lifting others. I absolutely love that saying. So I want to put that, my balloon's going to be off center. So I'm going to kind of off center my saying, coming up a little bit into my sponged area. And I'm probably just going to do that in black. Okay, one more time. You know how I am. It's got to be crisp. Dark and crisp. Dark and crisp. That's how my husband eats his toast. Yeah, he loves burnt toast. Okay, so we got our saying. Take this out. Set our stamparatus aside. Now we can add a little something something to this. I kind of like it just like that. So let's get some dimensionals in here. Where are my dimensionals? I know I brought some. And we have a runner. They're gone. Where'd they go? Oh, this is crazy. I just had them, you guys. I seriously just had all my... Alright, let's get a pack of dimensionals. Okay, so we're just gonna pop up our little balloon here. Now on something like this, where you have a fairly large image, don't skimp on your dimensionals. It could, collapse in the mail. I'm a don't skimp on dimensional kind of girl. It only took once of seeing one of my cards that I'd worked really hard on, that was delivered to somebody's house, and it had collapsed in the mail, the piece. So now I just don't, it's not worth skimping. They're inexpensive. Let's offset our balloon here a little bit. And I'm just going to bring in a couple little, oh, I just found my dimensionals. I have tweezers here somewhere too. I don't know where they, oh, here they are. So let's put just a couple little red gems on here that have a little bit of bling bling. And I'm just going to put it on the cord. I guess it's the cord that is on the balloon. So let's just add a couple little blings. But I love the texture of that. It is so pretty. So as you see, you could go kind of crazy with any. You could stamp flowers onto your plain solid stamp. You could do stripes. You could do anything on it. And now we're just going to attach this one with glue to our red base, our red mat. So despite my faux pas, as you see, this is a pretty, quick card. Okay. And now we will attach it to our card base. I'm just using liquid glue. You can use your favorite adhesives. There you go. Quick and simple. A really cute balloon with some texture on it. So this technique is called kissing. And you take a solid image, stamp, and you stamp on it. So you'll actually stamp whatever design you want on any solid image and then stamp the solid image. It's just some more textures and things you can do with some of your solid stamps. If you have a flower, you have a solid image flower, take this flourish and stamp it on your solid image flower and then stamp your flower. How beautiful is that? There you go. Well, that's today's technique for you. I will put a link on creating your mat for your sponging, and I will also do the write-up on how to do this stamp kissing and the stamp sets and supplies used today. I will see if I can find a link on Amazon to these mono sanding erasers. They're a lifesaver. They're almost right up there with your glue removal erasers. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed today's technique. And stay warm if you're in a snowy area. And for those of you in Florida enjoying 80-degree weather, jealous right now. All right, everybody. I hope you have an absolutely happy stamping day. Bye-bye now.